don't need to be a knockoff version of anybody else. You just need to be the very best version of yourself. You already have what it takes in order to make the impact that you were called to make. When you use your unique gifts, talents, and abilities to face whatever problems are standing in your way, when whatever stumbling blocks are trying to hold you back, you decide, I'm gonna face it until I can overcome. When you face it till you make it, that's how you live in your authenticity and make the impact that only you can make. Somebody's looking at you and they're gonna be just like you, but you don't realize the gold that you have inside of you. There are things that are average to us that are amazing to everybody else. You are not called to walk down the same path as somebody else. You're not called to do things the exact same way as somebody else. You're not called to be a copycat. You're called to blaze a trail, to live in your authenticity, to go down a path that has not yet been pathed and leave a trail, a blueprint for somebody else to follow. I'm Daryl Williams Jr. and I help new teachers become the teachers you've always wanted to be and make the impact our students deserve. But what if I told you that there is one thing that crushes classrooms all across the nation, and you're probably already doing it? I know you're probably already doing it because I've done it. So many other teachers have done it. And I see it in classrooms that I go to day in and day out. And it's that you're super passionate, you're super excited, you're super energetic, but you also have really high standards and expectations because you really honestly want to do a good job. You really want to help students. You really want them to reach their full potential, and you know that the only way they can do that is when you're at your best. So you self-assess and you say, man, I'm not quite where I want to be. And you start looking around at other people and say, man, if I was more like that, if I can show up that way, if I can look like that, act like that, then I'd have the same outcomes. And what ends up happening is we compare ourselves to other people and we try to then become a copycat. But the truth of the matter is you don't need to be a knockoff version of anybody else. You just need to be the very best version of yourself. Stop being a copycat. Today, I'm going to show you that you already have what it takes in order to make the impact that you were called to make. Because perhaps you are the person that is just, kind of a ho-hum, low energy type of person, but you see some other teachers in the building that are high energy and they're seeing success. You're like, maybe when I show up at school, it needs to be more like this, more high energy. And it's exhausting. It's not you. Or maybe you're the teacher that's normally bubbly and happy and you're laughing and smiling and joking at everybody. But then you see another teacher who's a little more stern, a little more strict, and you say, oh, I need to be like that. And you start growling. You say, I can't show teeth until December. Right? And what ends up happening is we show up as a different version because we think that's what it's going to take in order for us to be successful. And it's actually not true. And we say, but if I just do this, eventually it'll be okay. I'm just going to fake it till I make it. And we adopt a fake it till you make it mindset, but you don't adopt a fake it till you make it endurance. So what ends up happening is you fake it till you can't take it, and then you quit. That's why so many teachers, more than 50% of new teachers quit before year 5. Because it's exhausting, it's uncomfortable. So I can't do this, I'm faking it, but it feels weird to me. It's like I'm putting my size 9 foot into a size 5 shoe. How long is that gonna be sustainable before you kick the shoes off and say, I can't do this anymore? I know exactly what it's like. I remember being in the classroom early in my career and I struggled a lot with classroom management. And you see me, I'm energetic, but I speak, I'm a motivator, I talk, I like to use my words. And I remember there was another teacher, her name was Miss Bryant, and she was real bubbly, real high energy. And she used to get her students silent by doing this, like whole body learning thing. She used to have hand signals and voices and movements and all the things. And I remember I was observing her classroom one day to try to learn some things. And she would say something like, okay, 1, 2, 3, eyes on me, raise your hand for permission to speak. And I was like, ooh, that's fire. Like, I got to do that. That's what I need to be. I need to be bubbly. I need to be high energy. I need to be upbeat. I need to use my hands. I need to move around. Like, this is what it takes. So I remember going back to my 7th grade math classroom and looking at my students. And I remember saying, okay, guys, here we go. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. Put your butts in a seat. And they were like, what are you doing? But I tried it. I tried to keep it up. I tried to go with the high energy. I tried to do other things. I changed my voice. I started speaking like this. I said, hey guys, and today we're gonna learn. And it was exhausting. It was infuriating. It was frustrating because it wasn't me. See, the fake it till you make it mindset, that works for some people, but the face it till you make it mindset, that works for everybody. When you face it until you make it, when you use your unique gifts, talents, and abilities to face whatever problems are standing in your way, when whatever stumbling blocks are trying to hold you back, you decide, I'm going to face it until I can overcome. When you face it till you make it, that's how you live in your authenticity and make the impact that only you can make. So to face it till you make it, there's just 4 simple things that we can do. right? 4 simple things to do to face it till you make it. The first thing that you really have to remember is stop being a copycat. You were not called to be the knockoff version of anybody else. You were called to be the very best version of yourself. And when you are the very best version of yourself, you don't need to be like anyone else. You don't need to be anyone other than who you were created to be in order to make the impact you were created to make. Stop being a copycat. The thing you need to remember is stop, okay? Just stop. The S in stop stands for spot the comparison trigger. What is that thing that every time it happens, it triggers the thought inside of me that I'm inadequate? What's that trigger? Is it every time I'm walking down the hall, I see another class that is nice and quiet, and I say, man, I wish my class was quiet like that. Why can't I be more like that? Is it the way that some students really respond and react to their teacher, and maybe even at lunch or on the playground, like they're coming around and they just want to be wherever that teacher is. You're like, man, why don't my students like me like that? Be honest. What is that trigger that whenever it happens, it sparks inside of you, man, why can't I be like that? I feel like I'm not enough. You want to pay attention to whatever that trigger is, because that is the indicator that this is the skill that you need to grow in order to have the impact that you want to have. Once you gain competence in this skill, you'll have the confidence that you need to step confidently in that classroom. Is that making sense? So spot that comparison trigger, because that's the thing that you are going to attack. The next thing that you want to do is you want to trace the cause. What is it costing you as you're trying to show up as somebody else? What is it costing you not understanding how to master this thing? What is it costing you the fact that you can't differentiate? Does that mean that your students not performing at their best? What is it costing you because you haven't figured out student engagement? Does that mean that students are not retaining the information that you're sharing? What is the cost? When you associate it with the cost, that's really going to drive you to fix that issue, right? Associating things with the cost is a real powerful way to make it stand out. You make some decisions when cost is associated. I remember last year, my friends and I, we were playing in an adult kickball league, and my friend, he slid into first base. You're not supposed to do that, by the way. He slid into first base, and his knee went one way, his foot went the other way. We went to him, he was on the floor grabbing his leg. He was like, sitting down, his toes were pointing this way, his knee was pointing that way. We were like, bro, it doesn't look good. Let's call an ambulance. He was like, no, don't call the ambulance. I think I could drive. I was like, I don't think you could drive, bro. Like, I don't think you could drive. He said, I don't think I want to pay for an ambulance. When you associate cost with something, it makes you make some tough decisions. How much is it costing you? When you trace the cost, it's going to make you say, I've got to get this thing fixed, because I know that by fixing this, it's really going to help me grow my students. The next letter is the O. The O stands for own your lane. Own your lane. How are you going to make the impact that only you can make? What are your unique gifts, your unique talents, your unique abilities? Own your lane. When you take those things and you match it with the proven principles of effective instruction, then you can create the specific strategies that are going to work for you in your classroom. It's not necessarily the same thing that works for somebody else. Maybe they could be mean and growl because they're a mean and growling person. Maybe they can be bubbly and happy all the time because they're naturally a bubbly, happy person. What is your lane? Are you a communicator? Are you energetic? Are you more calm? Are you more strict? Are you gonna here are all the rules? Are you we're gonna have controlled chaos in the class? What is it like? Own your lane in order to make the impact that you were called to make. Remember, your students need you, not the knockoff version of anybody else, right? Not the you that's afraid to show up, not the you that is hiding the things that set you apart. Your students need you and your true authenticness. And your true authenticity, whichever is the correct way to say it. That's what they need, right? They need you, because who you were made to be is exactly who somebody else needs to see. Own your lane. And then the P stands for practice consistency, because we're gonna show up consistently even when it makes more sense not to. Even when it hasn't happened the way that we thought it should. We're looking at other teachers down the hallway. We're looking at other teachers on Instagram or TikTok. We're looking at other teachers that are doing things like, man, they got it. How come I haven't gotten it yet? Well, just like fireworks on the 4th of July, sometimes you'll notice the flash of the light before you hear the sound. And just the same way, when you start implementing things in your classroom, you'll notice some flashes before you hear you're doing a good job. You'll notice some flashes before you hear this is how it's supposed to be. You notice some flashes before it sounds exactly like what you want it to be. But just because it doesn't happen immediately doesn't mean it won't happen eventually with consistency. Show up consistently the way that you are called to show up. Show up consistently in your authenticity. Show up consistently maximizing your gifts. Show up consistently using your specific talents and abilities. Show up consistently trying to figure out how to acquire new skills so that you can close the gaps in your classroom. And I promise, when you consistently show up, the things that you want to happen immediately will happen eventually. You got this. When you apply this method, just these 4 steps, you'll realize that you can stop being the copycat and stop being like other people and step into your fullness and your authenticity. I remember like Ms. Bryant, that one of those, a couple years later, once I realized, listen, I'm not gonna be that 1, 2, 3 eyes on me. Like, I'm not gonna be that person anymore. I'm gonna be Daryl Williams Jr. How am I gonna get my students to be quiet? I started doing some self-reflection and noticing some things about myself. I said, you know what? I speak, I communicate, I motivate, I encourage. How can I leverage that part of me to help my students be quiet in the classroom when it's time for them to be quiet? And I decided I was gonna go with call and responses, but not just generic cookie cutter templated calls and responses. I said, I'm gonna empower them with positivity. I would say, when I say dream, you say big, my students will respond, dream big, silence. I'll say, when I say work, you say hard, work hard, silence. When I say don't, you say quit, don't quit, silence. When I say live, you say right. When I say dream, you say big. And I remember I would go through all these different things, and whatever came to my mind, I would just use those words. My students would respond, they would be silent, and they would be encouraged. One day, Ms. Bryant came to me and she was like, man, I just love how you inspire your students with positivity. I wish I can get my students quiet that easily. I was like, Ms. Bryant, what do you mean? I want to be like you. 1, 2, 3. She said, you know how much work that takes? Oh man, you know how much I gotta remember these hand movements, these signals. I gotta be all bubbly, I gotta be high energy. I wish I could just say 2 words, dream big, and my class get quiet. I was looking at her like, I wanna be just like you. She was looking at me like she wanted to be just like me. Somebody's looking at you and they wanna be just like you, but you don't realize the gold that you have inside of you. There are things that are average to us that are amazing to everybody else. For Ms. Bryant, that just came to her. She just does that. She can do it. That's not me. She just got it. For me, the words, the affirmations, that just comes to me. I just got it. For you, you have a thing. There's a way that you show up that to you, you're thinking to yourself, this is just normal. It's just me. It's just average to me. But there are things that you do that are average to you that are amazing to everybody else. And you don't need to be like everybody else. What you need to do is identify your gifts, identify your talents, identify your abilities, identify the skills that you've mastered, and master some more skills on top of that. Mash it all together. And like Ralph Waldo Emerson said, don't go where there's already a path. Go where there is not yet a path and leave a trail. You are not called to walk down the same path as somebody else. You are not called to do things the exact same way as somebody else. You are not called to be a copycat. You're called to blaze a trail, to live in your authenticity, to go down a path that has not yet been pathed and leave a trail, a blueprint for somebody else to follow. The one thing I need you to do is identify what it is that you do well and decide how you're going to maximize it to make the impact in the classroom that only you can. When you do that, then not only will you become the teacher you've always wanted to be, but you'll make the impact our students deserve. I'm Daryl Williams Jr., that's my time. I help new teachers become the teachers they've always wanted to be and make the impact our students deserve. Because I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle, to feel like I'm not enough, but I also know what's on the other side. Excitement, fulfillment, and the ability to change lives. Every great teacher was once a new teacher, and new teachers are often excited and eager and anxious, but a lot of times new teachers lack the foundational skills of effective instruction. Every teacher that I work with, I carry them through this journey, helping them master the principles of effective instruction so that they know how capable they are.
I can't wait to see these teachers enact their 1% amazing and make the difference that only they can. If you would like for your school district to be empowered as well, you can click the link down below and our team will reach out to you.